Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Yoga from the Park. I'm Janet Casson here at Grays Lake this morning, and so happy to be with you. Today we're going to play a little bit with a really simple idea of just lifting the heart and taking a deep breath. My thought with this is that many of us take on the converse shape. You know, this one, where we're holding onto the steering wheel or typing at the desk or over our phone, and we've got this happening in our chest and upper back. So any time that we can do a bit of opening, not only does it create relief for our neck and shoulders, but it also invites our lungs to have their full capacity with which to work. So physiologically, it makes a lot of sense. And emotionally, when we come out of this drawn in shape and open up, we are forced to look out and see what's along our horizon, or even see what's above us, what's around us, whose eyes we might connect with right in front of our face. So it creates a whole new world, really, just being able to open the heart. So I'm going to invite us to play with that a little bit today. Right now, just come to Virasana, which is hero's pose. Often this pose is taught with the feet wide so that you can put the sitting bones on the ground between your feet. If that's accessible to you, feel free to do that. Otherwise, you could put a block in between your ankles and sit on that. I'm just going to sit right on my heels here and have this kneeling posture. So allow your hands to slide up your thighs right into the creases of your hips, and use the heels of your hands to press down in order to lengthen the front and the back of the spine. And you may find that it's easier to lengthen the front of the spine here with the hands close. So go ahead and do that. Lift up through the chest. It might feel good to gaze up at the sky, but don't feel the need to toss your head back. Just let your nose stay pointing forward and your head in a nice trajectory out over your neck. Then as we draw in, we can slide the hands forward and round through the chest. Elbows can flare out wide. And we'll inhale to expand the front body, gazing up, elbows draw back, and exhale to round in. Do that one more time, sort of like our cat and cow here. So expanding front body, contracting the back, and then expanding the back body, contracting the front. And then find neutral, so something in between those two iterations. Draw the inner thighs firmly together, lift your arms up alongside your ears, and exhale, take a side bend to your left. Deep breath in. Exhale, let the top hand come down past your face to the outside of your knee. Your left hand might touch the ground behind you, but if you're seated up very high, it might just be grazing the ground. So inhale to lengthen through the spine, and exhale to revolve. Inhale, come back up to center, arms reach. Exhale, side bend to the right. Notice if you are letting this bottom shoulder jut forward, bend the elbow and relax the shoulder on the back so we can keep everything nice and fluid. Then let the top arm come down past your face to the outside of your knee. Sit yourself up very tall and twist. Allow both sitting bones to stay grounded here. Inhaling to sit up and exhaling to twist. Then we'll inhale back up to center, reach your arms up, and exhale, bring your hands out in front of you. I'm just going to turn sideways so you can see profile. But we'll come onto hands and knees, and then because we've been in a very deep hinge for the knees, it might feel really good to open up the back of the knee joint. So just press long through the right foot, the right leg, and then switch sides, allowing that left knee joint to open up as well. Then step right into plank pose and back to downward facing dog. Feel free to pedal out the feet, move through the legs a little bit to create some familiar sensation. Settling into the first down dog of our practice can sometimes feel like relief if it is a very familiar pose to you, or it could feel a little strenuous. So just notice where you are with this posture right now. No need for it to be anything other than it is. Just observing. Let's inhale forward into plank pose. And exhale to lower the knees to the floor. Then bring your upper body down as well. Now, take your hands out a little bit wider than shoulder distance and a little bit in front of your shoulders. So I'm coming up onto my fingertips. You can do that too, or press palms flat. We're going to let the thighs stay heavy, the toenails grounded into the ground, and then lift up just so much as you can find flexibility in your thoracic spine. That's the part right behind your heart. Most of us are very flexible in the low back, but we don't need to come into that arc too much. Let the thighs and hips stay heavy. And then from here, just gaze gently out over your right shoulder. And come back to center. And gaze out over your left shoulder. And back to center. Release your chest to the ground and press back up through hands and knees, hinging deeply at the hips to come to downward facing dog. Let the pedaling of your feet, the sinking of heels, turn into a walk that brings your feet all the way forward, coming into your standing forward fold at the top of your space. And allow your upper body to hang nice and heavily out over your legs. Feel free to keep a bend in the knees so that there's ease in the low back and it feels as though you're spilling the contents of your pelvis forward over your legs. Your long spine just dripping down towards the earth. Again, a little shake no through the head or a nod yes. And bring your hands onto your shins. Inhale, lift halfway up. Exhale, release. One more time like that. Inhale, halfway lift, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, forward fold, Uttanasana. Now allow that bend in the knees to stay very soft. Then your tailbone will be the first thing to tuck as your chin draws in and you round all the way up to standing, stacking vertebrae by vertebrae. Head comes up last. Take a deep breath in. Spread and lengthen through the feet as you exhale. Inhale, lift your arms up. Exhale, fold forward over your legs. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, step your right foot far back into a lunge and gently lower that back knee onto the mat. Walk your hands up onto your front leg and find a scissoring of the inner thighs that keeps your pelvis nice and even. Lift your arms up alongside your ears. Turn your palms to face away from each other. Take hold of the right wrist with the left hand and then side bend to your left. So you can pull your right wrist with the left hand, creating a little more of that side bend momentum, stretching all the way from the right knee out through the right fingertips. And come back upright and release your hands to the floor. Tuck the back toes, lift the knee, step to downward facing dog. Take a deep breath in. Exhale to step your right foot forward between your hands. Keep your left hand grounded and reach your right arm up towards the sky. Notice the tendency for the left hip to sink. Keep it lifting so that we can find the twist from the navel up. Left rib cage wrapping to the right inner thigh. Now bring your right hand down to the inside of your right foot. You can scooch that right foot out to the side a little bit and then lower the back knee. First, let's walk the hands just one handprint forward so we can sink very deeply into the stretch for that left thigh and hip. Then take your right hand to your right outer knee and press your hand in as you push the knee out. What we're working on here is leveraging the femur bone wide so that the low back can spread. Trying to create more space in the hips, a little more ease in the parts of our body that gets a little crunched sometimes. And then we'll go ahead and bring hands back to the earth. Here's a nice place to take the left hand wide and at an angle, so a little bit off of your mat perhaps, but nice and grounded through the fingertips. Take your right hand up and around, bend the left knee, and take hold of the pinky toe side of that foot. Now you can decide how to drive this pose. I find that I need to be above the kneecap so that it's not so sensitive right on the patella, and that if I allow my hips to sink, I get really into the stretch for that left quad and hip flexor. If that's very sensitive, you might back off a little bit. If it's still extra sensitive, feel free to let the foot come down. But if you have hold of the foot, you can use the pressure of the foot in the hand to open the chest, and then you can pull the hand closer to you and create a deeper stretch in that left quad. Lots of ways to make that pose very meaningful. Now bring your hands to either side of your front foot, tuck your back toes, lift the knee, step forward and fold. Inhale halfway up. Exhale, release back down. Inhale, arms reach wide, come up. Exhale, release your hands to your sides. Inhale, lift your arms up. Exhale, fold forward over your legs. Inhale, lift the chest. Exhale, step your left foot far back into a lunge. Gently lower the back knee onto the mat and walk your hands up onto your front thigh. So first, just exploring Anjaneyasana, a low lunge. Finding the balance through the hips, lifting the arms straight up towards the sky. No need to find a back bend here. Scissoring the inner thighs so it's that feeling that the right heel and the left knee are moving towards each other. Gathering into the midline. And exhale the hands to the ground. Tuck the back toes, lift the knee, step to downward dog. Deep breath in. Use your exhale to step your left foot forward between your hands. Keep your right hand grounded. Take your left arm up towards the sky and resist gravity with that right hip. Keeping it nice and buoyant, letting the twist happen from the navel up. Take a deep inhale. And exhale, bring hands to the ground on the inside of your left foot. You can lower your back knee, untuck the toes. First, take the hands a little bit forward and sink into the stretch for that left hip. Then right hand stays grounded, left hand to the left outer knee. Push the hand into the knee and the knee into the hand. And because we're pushing this end of the femur bone to the right, then the opposite end of the femur bone, which is up in your hip joint, will move to the left. We're just leveraging it wide. For some of us, this feels very intense. Some folks don't have much sensation at all, and sometimes it depends on the day. So just stay with it for a breath. Invite a deeper breath and a more focused intention into the hip joint, creating some space there. Then bring your hands to the inside of the front foot. Again, taking the right hand a little wider and forward might be helpful balance-wise, so you can really lean to the right and bend the right knee to take hold of the foot. Flexing through that foot, so flaring the toes is one way to help prevent hamstring pull or cramp. Drawing that left inner thigh in towards the midline. The tendency is for it to flare out. And you can decide how to drive this pose, whether it's sinking low into the hips, pulling the heel even closer to the sitting bone, opening the chest. And we'll unwind, bring hands to frame your front foot, tuck your back toes, lift the knee, step forward and fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, release. Inhale, arms reach wide all the way up. Exhale, hands to your sides. Inhale, lift your arms up. Exhale, fold forward over your legs. Inhale, lift halfway. Exhale, hands to the mat. Take many steps to bring your feet all the way back to downward facing dog. Inhale, forward to plank. Gently lower your knees and then your upper body to the mat. Take your hands wide Again, a little in front of where your shoulders are. Press up onto the fingertips, getting nice and broad through the front and the back of the chest. Gaze out over your right shoulder, and then put a little more pressure into your right hand so that your left hip gets heavy. And maybe you can even gaze all the way back towards your right foot, legs extending long and straight behind you. Come back to the center. Feel free to take a break to bring the chest down. And then we'll come back up into this wide cobra, gazing out over your left shoulder and pushing in to the left hand so that the right hip and thigh get heavy and we can really turn. Come on back to the center. Gently release your chest and head. Hands come underneath the shoulders. Press up either through hands and knees or through plank to downward facing dog. Inhale your right leg up high, down dog split. Exhale, step that foot forward between your hands. Look underneath your pose and turn your back heel down. Allow each foot to have its own lane. Don't need to worry about heel to heel alignment right now. Keeping the hips nice and wide, lift the arms up alongside the ears for warrior one. Bring your palms together and then place your thumbs right onto the top of your head. This is what one of my teachers calls rooster comb. So let your rooster comb be bright and vibrant at the top of your head. Push your head up into your hands so that your forearms also lift a little bit. Get lengthy through the neck, through the spine, and even feel for the possibility of an upper back bend, allowing your left elbow to wrap forward so the chest stays square to the front of your space. Inhale to lift your arms up. Exhale, open wide to warrior two. Feel free to adjust your stance. Most of us can take a longer stance front to back from warrior one to warrior two, and we can be lined up heel to heel here. The most important thing is to remember the front knee tracking right over the center of the foot. So it's a big external rotation of that front hip. Inhale, lift your arms up. Exhale, resist gravity as you come back into warrior two. We'll do that one more time. Inhale. And exhale. Now bring your left hand down your back leg, right arm up and over, reverse warrior. Then take your right forearm to your right thigh, left arm up and over for side angle pose. And let your left thigh move back as the right sitting bone draws under and allows you to turn your torso. Keeping the upper body pretty much just how it is, we'll just take that left arm up, the right arm down, and then extend the front leg to translate side angle into triangle. Draw your tailbone towards your back heel, not tucking it, but just lengthening the low back. Put a little more pressure into your right big toe mound. And then bring both of your hands to the ground around your front foot. Turn the back heel up, step back, downward dog. Inhale forward to plank pose. Lower all the way to the earth. Slide your hands wide, come up. Just one wide cobra. And release. Belly, chest, and head to the mat. Back to downward facing dog. Deep breath in. Exhale to step your left foot forward between your hands. Turn your back heel down. Come up to warrior one. Bring rooster comb hands to the top of your head. Lift through the chest. Find a little bit of that upper back bend. Not collapsing in the spine, but just lengthening. Lifting tall. Inhale, lift your arms up. Exhale, open wide, warrior two. Even in this posture, can you find a lift through the heart space? Broader through the lungs, so that when you are open in the chest and breathing deeply, you see more clearly and more honestly everything that is around you. Inhale, lift your arms, lengthen your front leg. Exhale, bend the front knee, resisting gravity. One more time. Then we'll reach the right hand down, left arm up and over, reversing the warrior. Coming forward for side angle pose, drawing that left sitting bone in underneath you as best you can to encourage the rotation of the rib cage. Then translating this into triangle, very little muss and fuss in the upper body, just allowing that front leg to extend. Notice if that knee joint gets slammed back, might mean that there's some hyperflexibility or mobility there. So just keep a little bend in the left knee, lengthening from the left big toe to the left hip. And then we'll bring both hands to the earth around the front foot, step back again to downward facing dog. Inhale forward to plank. Exhale, lower to the earth. This time take your hands out wide, just as we've done before, but then place your forearms down, finding your Sphinx pose. So maybe not too wide, just keeping your elbows right underneath your shoulders. Then we'll bend the right knee and have the option here to take the left hand and spin it over towards the right wrist. Again, elbow underneath the shoulder so you're nice and grounded. You can reach your right hand around for the inner foot and draw that heel in towards the outer glute. Couple things to keep in mind is that the right knee is pointing straight back. If it starts to point out to the right, then we might be twisting that knee joint, and that's not a thing we want to do. So draw the heel in towards the glute, lift up out of the left shoulder, and send breath into wherever this is the most sensational. Release that back down and switch sides, so essentially crossing the right hand over towards the left, bending through the left knee, so that the foot can come into your hand. And some of you might find it very accessible to turn your fingertips to point towards the same direction as your toes so that your elbow points up towards the sky. That's a pretty particular stretch for your shoulder, and it might feel really good, but doesn't matter at all if you're just holding the foot in a very casual way. Go ahead and release. Let that come down, and then let's rest for just a moment with forehead on the stacked hands. Allowing your breath to move deeply into your belly, and with your belly pressing into the ground, getting a little bit of a massage there for your belly organs. You can turn your big toes in, heels out, and wiggle your hips just a little bit. And we'll slide hands underneath the shoulders. Make your way back to downward facing dog. Walk your hands and your feet towards each other, so meeting each other in the center of your space. Nice deep forward fold here. A little bend in the knees is absolutely permissible. Whatever allows for the most release. Inhale, halfway lift, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, sweep your arms wide, all the way to stand. Exhale, hands to your sides. Let's place our weight into the left foot and draw the right foot into your right glute. So holding on to the pinky toe side of that foot. Now first, draw the right kneecap straight down towards the ground instead of letting it come forward. Drawing it straight down. Already then we're moving into that quad stretch and the hip flexor. You can have a little bit of a bend in your standing leg just so there's more mobility in the hips here. And then take your left arm up towards the sky and take Anjaneyar Mudra, index finger and thumb together. Option here to take the hand around to the big toe side of the foot, so the arm is externally rotated, thumb pointing up towards the sky, and then start to hinge forward. Now the idea then is that as much as the foot lifts, the arm and the head lift as well. So we try to find a nice even bow through the body. There's a tendency to turn it open to the right, so draw everything in towards the midline. Wrapping that right shoulder forward, the right rib cage forward, the right hip. Stay for one more breath. Opening the heart space, breathing into the uncertainty. And then releasing down of your own volition, not because gravity tells you you have to. Sometimes that is how it works, right? Sometimes gravity is very bossy and it will win. Now let's put our weight into the right foot and start with the quad stretch. So allowing that left knee to point straight down. If you draw the knee down and extend the tailbone down, you will amplify the stretch for the psoas and the hip flexor. And that's what we're meaning to get into here. So don't shy away from that. Take your hand to the inside of your left foot. Reach your right arm up. Take your mudra. There's a little curve already in that lifted arm so that it can mirror what's happening in the back leg. A little bend in the standing leg so that you have the ability to internally rotate and draw the left hip forward. Allowing your gaze to reach out as far as you can see. And send your breath deeply into your roots. Stand all the way tall. Inhale, lift your arms up. Exhale, fold forward. And let's take the feet just a little bit wider than hip distance here. Feel free to bend the knees a lot. In fact, everybody bend your knees a bunch. Let your hands, the backs of your hands, rest on the earth. And let a little sway come into your feet, shifting right and left. Maybe even shifting from heels to toes around the circumference of your feet. And then slowly coming onto the ground. Now I invite you to come all the way down onto your back. And we'll bend the knees. Take the feet a little bit wider than hip distance. Let the knees drop in on each other. Open your arms out wide to a T at shoulder height. And with the legs internally rotating like this, hopefully we can find a spreading of the low back, allowing all of that back bending effort that we've just done to settle and release, bringing even spaciousness into all sides of our vertebrae and into vertebral discs. Take a deep inhale and exhale, let your knees drop over to the right, gazing out over your left shoulder. Inhale back up to center. Exhale, twist the other way. Inhale back up to center. One more time to the right. Inhale to center and to the left. Inhale back up to center. Draw your knees in towards your chest. Hug them in nice and close. Allow the low back to release again. And then take your legs out away from you, placing your hands right to the tops of your thighs, very similar to how we did at the very beginning of our class. Pressing the heels of the hands into the thighs. Let the thighs press back. And hopefully this strong work in the core will invite our back body to reintegrate into its natural curves. So push as hard as you can in both directions. If there's a shake, that just means that your muscles are learning new skills. That's encouraged. One more breath. And then release. Let your feet come down. Arms can come out wide. I'm going to come back up to sit, but I invite you to stay laying down, settling into your Savasana. Legs out long, a little bit wider than hip distance apart, arms down at your side with the palms facing up. So being very intentional that the arms are externally rotated, so that we can keep this broadness across the heart space that we've been working so hard to cultivate. Allow your breath to settle, knowing that the effort of this practice is complete. And you can allow everything to succumb to the support of the earth. Just allow yourself to be held. And I'll let you know when it's time to come up. Until then, just breathe easy and relax. Invite your breath to deepen. Use your breath to bring wakefulness back into all parts of your body. Maybe that breath is accompanied by small movements, or maybe it's just an awareness of your whole self. Feeling your periphery. Feeling how your breath can expand into all of your edges. Maybe not physiologically, but energetically. It can travel wherever you need it. So draw the inhale all the way down into the soles of your feet. Allow the exhale to climb up the length of your spine and escape through the crown of your head and even out your arms to the tips of your fingers. Bend your knees, place your feet onto the ground, and using just the effort that's necessary, roll over onto your right side. Allow your eyes to stay soft and your head heavy as you press yourself up to a seat. And join your palms together at your heart. In honor of your efforts here today and in gratitude to this practice that allows us to lift our hearts and breathe deeply, I bow to you. Namaste.